So this is Tina-Desiree Berg reporting for Status Coup. We are sitting on the town hall in Castroville.
I know that we have interpretation equipment for those that need it. So los que necesitan, ¿verdad? Interpretación, tenemos ahí atrás, por favor. My name is Marta Chavarria. I am currently the board president of North Monterey County LUDA. And this meeting came about just because of our community networking, collaboration, and going to, obviously, the reactions of what occurred. I, too, live in Crundale. I, too, was affected by the smoke. And my grandkids and my kids and lots of family members. So this is a very important issue. And I'm really glad that we are all coming together to address our concerns and collaborating with our North County residents that started this initiative. So we are grateful that you guys rallied the troops that Monday with over 200 people. And all that information that you guys translated, we have it available in Spanish for those residents and those community members that were not available to attend for their information today. Because it takes all of us, our voices, to be able to make a difference. And I am concerned just as much as all of you. And thinking about where we're at today, I felt it was important to invite individuals here that can provide at least updates of where we're at and what are the next steps. So I have some key individuals here that I will be inviting, and I want to thank them for being here today. We have Supervisor Glenn Church. Just want to give him an applause for being here. We have our North County residents, Tanya Rivera and Brian Roeder, right here in front. Thank you guys for being here. We have Christy Mitchie and Marini Flagg from the Monterey County Health Department. And we have the Fire Chief Joel Mendoza. So again, I appreciate everybody coming here. The goal is that they all going to have 10 minutes to provide an update on where we're at today and what the next steps are. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A. So that way you have the opportunity to ask questions on the information that was received today, or maybe some information or concerns that wasn't addressed. I do have paper back there with your comments and your concerns. In case they're not addressed, please leave us that information because we are gathering that information. And, oh my goodness, that's pretty bad. I'm also a board trustee for North Monterey County Unified School District, and we have our superintendent, Matt Church, here. Matt, I am so sorry because I was just like going by the list, but we really thank you for everything that you did to react immediately in closing the schools and keeping our children safe, our staff safe. I wasn't sure if you wanted to come up and share some words before we start. But if you have questions regarding our school district, regarding any information about, the schools, especially Elkhorn School that was affected right by the Moss Valley, please come and talk to Dr. Turkey. Because we did a lot of protocols and cleaning the systems, what did we do? The HVAC and the play equipment. We did all that cleaning. The staff worked really hard that weekend before they reopened the schools on Monday. So we want to reassure that did take place. So I want to start by having Mr. Church go ahead and give his update.
Thank you, Martha. Good evening, everybody. This is really a unique challenge that we have right here because this is or was the largest battery storage facility in the world. And there hasn't been any kind of a disaster or fire like this that has ever happened. So we're going forth in a situation where a lot of people just don't know what to expect. And I just want to be very truthful and honest with that. It's not comforting, but that's what the fact is, and we've got to keep that in mind as what happens. In the weeks, the months ahead, it just isn't going to end anytime soon. We're going to learn a lot. And we're going to learn how bad of a situation we're in or how good of a situation we're in. We're just going to, it's not going to be just us learning. It's going to be people throughout the state, throughout the country, actually throughout the world where these battery systems are, because we've become now sort of a test case in some ways for what happens to communities when this technology goes awry. So what I'd like to do is give a little background of exactly how we got here, where we're at, and what things look like down in the future a little, as much as I can peer into a crystal ball, because nobody has a very clear crystal ball right now. One of the things that have come up a lot is, why do we have this facility over here next to the Elkhorn Slough, and in a prime environmental area, and of course the Monterey Bay? And to really look at that, you got to go back to the 1940s. After World War II, PG&E developed this power plant over here. There's actually a plan to put out 4,000 acres of industrial plants and facilities along the Elkhorn Slough all the way here towards Castroville. That didn't happen. It stayed over there in a small area with them along Dolan Road. What would happen in a short while, by the 60s and the 70s, that power plant over there would become the largest power plant on the West Coast. It would be producing more electricity than all the power plants in LA. It was half of the year it was fueled by petroleum, half the year by natural gas, and it was actually the second largest fossil fuel power plant in the world, second to one in East Germany. That was the 1970s. So what you had there is you had the infrastructure for electricity to go out, and that is what's made it a prime area for Vistra and PG&E to go into there. And it's important to realize it isn't just Vistra there. There's two battery storage facilities there. One is PG&E's with Tesla batteries, built batteries, and it's a smaller one. And then there's Vistra's, which is much bigger. The batteries are laid out in basically two different ways. The one that caught on fire over here was inside of a building. It was a 75-year-old building built about 1950, one of the original buildings in there. I believe PG&E had turbines in there, a lot of heavy equipment inside there. There's another building, a smaller one next to that also has batteries. It hasn't caught on fire. They're both obviously offline, the one that burned. And then Vistra and PG&E also have batteries that are laid out outside in containers. While inside these buildings, they're in containers that are stacked. And so that's made that if you catch one on fire, another catch on fire, another catch on fire, and that's what we had happen over here. What the ones outside are theoretically far enough apart that they're not going to catch another one on fire. Although one thing I have learned is that the industry hasn't decided on a standard and the distance that they should be separated from each other at this point. And that's what, or I say, we're in a very unique situation. There were 3 permits that these facilities received. One was in 2019, and then 2 were in 2020. 2 were by Vistra, 1 was by PG&E. These applications did get some public attention. The media did some stories on them, but it was all on an extremely positive note. Every special interest group that you could think of, from business to labor to environmental to the government to just about anybody, spoke glowingly of it, because we're moving towards a sustainable, renewable energy society where batteries are going to play a critical role. We can't turn that back. That's going to be important that they be a part of that. So it was spoken of that this was great. Process went through here through the county like it normally does, and the 2019 application, it was actually in the 2019 and the 2020 applications for the battery facility. They were all voted on and passed through the Planning Commission. There was either none or very little opposition at that time. And part of that reason is nobody was really talking about the danger of the fire that this could come. Again, this is promoted as something green, it's good, this is going to be wonderful, it's going to be renewable energy, and what a great place to put it. Since then, there's actually been, I'm going to call them 4 fire incidents, but to be honest and truthful with it, it's kind of difficult to explain why I call it a fire incident. The first 2 were really just smoke incidents, where water got onto the batteries and caused smoke. That could turn into a fire very quickly, but it was stalled. The third one happened in 2022. As many of you might remember, it happened at the PG&E facility, where one of the containers caught on fire there. Highway 1 was closed. There was a shelter-in-place order from Moss Landing. That's basically where the emergency response is. If this catches fire, just let it burn. And that doesn't sound like much of an emergency response, but there's been other processes that have been tried with these lithium batteries. Down in San Diego last May at Otay Mesa, there was a battery facility down there, and it caught on fire, and as I understand it, they applied water to that one. It doused the flames, yes, but the problem is you put water onto them, and they continue to smoke. They're at risk of reigniting, and so it went on for days and days. So there's a choice that was out here, and I'm sure Chief Mendoza can go into detail on that, but you had a choice of letting it burn and get it over with in a couple days, or you could put water on it and let it go, who knows, a week or longer or what. That, in my view, right there is a problem with these batteries, is that there is no realistic way to put out the fire. And I know of no other industry around that when it has a disaster, the response is let the disaster continue until it's over. So I want to go back a little bit here to, we know what the situation is, and a lot of people have asked, well, why can't the county just shut it down? Well, what can we do? The county's really limited on it. And one of the reasons is because that's a utility, just like PG&E. They're governed by the California Public Utilities Commission. They're the ones that decide on the safety and whatever else with the operations of it. The county's main role comes in granting those initial permits. And we're not the ones that go in and look at the batteries and decide, hey, this is a great battery, because nobody is. It's just like a nuclear power plant was put in. We don't have nuclear physicists on our staff. You got to relate to the state. You got to relate to the federal government for any kind of input onto these things. So what you have here then is I say, it's very similar to PG&E. And I've had discussions with Chief Mendoza about PG&E on tree removal, for example. I had a discussion with him a couple of years ago on a constituent of mine who had a problem with a eucalyptus tree touching some wires and causing some sparking, and it was let's get PG&E to clean that up. PG&E wouldn't do it. I talked to Chief Mendoza about it. He basically said, don't put words in your mouth, but I remember pretty clear. It was like, there's not much we can do. PG&E can do what they want because they're governed by the state. So even over at the fire department, they can make their own decisions to go forward. That is what really seriously limits us. Check the time here so I don't go too much further. One of the other problems that are going on here is the state has even stepped in to impose itself over local control. Vistra and PG&E have both had applications down there to expand. Vistra has pulled theirs back. PG&E still has one out. Yes, county can maybe deny those permits, put stringent rules onto them, for example. But a couple years ago, new state legislation concerned that people in communities might stop some of these plants being developed passed a law. There's a state law which allows streamlining. Basically, these utilities, these battery facilities, can go around the county and go straight to the state and say, we want to put one here, and the state can give the okay, and there's not much we can do about it. And that's a big problem we're in. Now, the Board of Supervisors a couple weeks ago set up an ad hoc committee with myself and Supervisor Kate Daniels from District 5, which is the Carmel Valley Big Sur area, to try to look at what options we have. Try to dig in deep, look for any loopholes, look for any particular controls that we may not be seeing overtly, to try to be able to use to have some kind of say into this. And hopefully by the end of this month we're going to have some preliminary information on that. And I better get around here to wrap it up, but I guess what I just want to kind of end with here and let the other speakers go ahead with is, I live out here too. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we pause, we stop, we halt, we make this thing safe, whatever we can do at this point. And I'm hoping that there's going to be enough wisdom at the state level to look and see that you just can't have these plants going like they are right now, having disasters like this, and expect that you're going to be able to rely on battery energy that is this unstable to be put around in other places of the state. And the streamlining law came about because there was concern that communities would be rejecting these. And the communities started to do some rejecting because that initial promise was this was safe. They sold that to us. And they didn't hold their promises. Because what is out there was not a safe situation. And there's no problem, I don't believe, with communities going through and letting battery facilities or any other technology in place as long as you don't have something like this happening. And we need to be speaking out, to make it clear where we stand, and that we're just not going to be shoved aside to be a testing ground for the state and for this industry. So I've made this statement before, and I'm going to say it again. The reason I think they just need to pause putting these batteries out anywhere is because we've moved past government's ability to regulate it right now and the industry's ability to control this technology. So I'm going to pass it on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Supervisor. Now I'd like to invite the two representatives from North County. I would like to have Tanya and Brian come on up.
Thanks for everyone coming. I thank you, Martha, for inviting us to be here. I just wanted to let you guys know that it takes one person to say something and get everybody motivated to make things right, to get things put right. And I'm blabbing here. I'll get this back. But what I really wanted to do with LULAC was to make sure that the Spanish-speaking community gets the same information as those that speak English. It's a huge part of our community, and they should not getting the same exact information that English-speaking people are. So that was my goal here, and I thank you so much for doing that. Brian. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. So we've created an organization, it's all volunteer citizen organization called Never Again Moss Landing. We have a new website that is being populated as we speak. There's news coverage there. There's going to be updates. This all started when my wife and I decided we had to leave the area. We're up in Prudell on a hilltop. We watched the fire from the beginning. We were very concerned about the effect of the smoke on our 7-year-old son. We're older parents, and we really cherish this little guy. We decided that no matter what, we had to get away. So we were lucky. We were able to. Not everybody was, but we were. So we did that. Saturday morning, my wife created a Facebook group, and at the end of that day, there were 1,000 people who joined it. At the end of the next day, there were 2,000 people who joined it. It started becoming clear that this was a big deal. And she started, because it's one of her superpowers, she started communicating with members of this community who were expressing fear and who were trying to find out what was going on. By Monday, there were 2,700 people, and at the end of the week, there were over 3,000 people at that site. Probably many of you have been there. It's the Moss Landing power plant fire / Vistra symptom site. There's another one which is the disaster site, and then there's the best site. Those are the three that have been the most active, informing people what's going on. The Monday after the fire, or that Sunday, Tanya reached out to Angie through that Facebook page, and she said she was trying to get people together in Prunedale. Many of you were there. Thank you. And we had 200 attendants, give or take. Glenn came in and spoke. Matt came in and spoke. We were very grateful. There wasn't a lot of information at that point. And we attempted to facilitate the beginning of a dialogue that moved as quickly as possible away from the shared experience of fear and anger to try to do something about it. And that was a facilitated process, and we had people break into working groups, breakouts. I then sent a copy of all that off, which wrote on big sheets on the walls, and many of you got that, and it was a lot. It was 14 pages. I'm sorry, it was just, there was so much there. Since then, we put together a citizen-funded, citizen-based testing process that involved a local environmental engineer, and we took 124 tests of surface areas spread from Carmel to Pescadero and over to Hollister. Those tests have been sent off to a very credible lab in St. Louis and Salt Lake City, and we should have those tests back in the next several days. When we get them, we will release them to everyone. They will not be interpreted. They will be raw data. We'll have a letter with it explaining that's raw data. We haven't drawn any conclusions. It hasn't been analyzed for what it means. There will be numbers. Those will be hopefully looked at by people who are a lot smarter than me, who will tell us what those numbers mean. The county will have them. The health department will have them. It's my hope that the county in particular, but folks all over, will be looking at those and trying to understand what they mean. There are environmental baselines. These are all about metals that are in our environment, that are in our bodies, and at low levels, at normal levels, they're fine. But at very high levels, they are toxic. And there are a lot more things that could be in our environment, but these tests that we did for 4 metals, lithium, cobalt, nickel, and manganese, are the canary in the coal mine. If they're present in Corralitos, that means things went to Corralitos. So it's a starting point, and it's a data point over the entire Bay Area. And the folks that I'm working with, Tanya and about 7 other people, are the ones who are trying to make this all work. And we had a huge amount of volunteer time from Biomax Environmental in Pacific Grove helping us to put this together. It was done properly. So that's going to come out. We hope to have the results out not later than Monday. We're now turning our attention to building the website to give information to our community. We're still tracking on the everyday 50 or more sometimes postings at the social media sites on Facebook. We're hearing emerging trends. People are looking for information from our elected leaders, and I know you're here tonight to do that. The one thing I would ask of the people at this table is You need, to the degree you can, start giving more information to our community. I'm not saying you're not, and I know you're trying, and I know that there weren't things in place. So this is all new, like Lynn said, right? We're a rural community. We're a wonderful community. I keep telling people it's a fire hose. It's overwhelming for everybody who's experiencing it, who's trying to address it. But the best thing that I think you can do right now, based on what we're hearing from these people at these sites, over 5,000 people cumulatively between the sites, is they need to hear more from you guys. Any communication is good communication. Even I don't know. You can monitor through these Facebook sites. Anybody in this room can go there, and they have the word Moss Landing in them. If you look for that and you look for fire or Vestra, you're going to find these social media groups on Facebook. You can communicate there. You can see what other people are saying, right? Matt here has been trying to get the word out. I just learned from him just tonight through what was said that they sanitized everything. I didn't know that. Now I know that. And the first thing I did is I leaned over and I said, send me that information so we can put it up, because we have parents saying, aren't the playgrounds safe for my children? There are answers there, but we believe that only open and expansive communication, and that's why we're here to speak with the Hispanic community, which is such a big part of our community, but only this open communication can make it possible for us to be heard. As citizens, as a community, as our government representatives, that's the only way that we're going to get through this. And communication can be misused. We have people who are putting out disinformation or misinformation, maybe by intent, maybe just because they don't know. And we're trying to find a way to curate that and make sure that's not happening at these social media sites. But we're learning so much about what's happening. So please have people in your staffs checking on that, learning from that, listening to that, and start giving information. I know it's not standard channels necessarily to go through a social media app or anything like that. YouTube postings. We will help distribute anything you create. If you have a staff member that says, here's today's latest that we know and we don't know, we'll get that up and distribute it. Okay? We're also trying to keep media attention. I'll be very honest, we're trying to keep media attention on this community. It is a crazy time. There's so much news out there in the world. Plane crashes, government changes, all these things. And we're trying to find space in that as a community to be heard that something really terrible may have happened here. And it's really hard to fit into that, all of that. And this is where you can help, right? If you see something that goes up, share it. If you get something from us, we have almost 450 people on our email distribution list, share it. The last thing I want to say, and I said this earlier in an interview, is that I've chosen to lend my name to this. My name is nothing except it's a face, right? So often, what Vistra has, as they try and protect themselves as a big corporation, find some level of accountability, but mitigate risk and expense and loss. That's what companies do. They've got a guy who came in and said, I'm sorry, and I don't know if he's still around. That's how this works. But we have ourselves, we have our stories and our faces, and I've decided that in spite of my concerns for my family and what's happening in our lives, that right now at least I need to try and bring a human face to this. My peers in this effort are bringing a human face to this. Tanya's speaking, and we're doing it just as these good folks are, because you guys need to see that there are people, not just words and not just info behind all this. But we need you to also, not necessarily go out in front of the mics or in front of the cameras, but to share this stuff, to follow it, and try really hard. If you see something like the possibility of the fire coming back in last night, before you share that, try and make sure whether or not that's true or not. We were lucky. Matt, who's over there working his way through the Elkhorn Slough now, taking pictures all the time, he was right around the corner, and first thing he put up was, I don't see a fire. but that was racing, almost out of control very quickly. I'm sure the fire department was trying to figure out what's going on with, not with the fire, but with social media. But I will say the company does not seem to be providing us with the information to help us know what's going on. And if they are, I'm not seeing it. And I'm seeing a lot. So please try to be accurate, and please share and get allies. Get people who will know you, or know people you know, or people who know you know that they know that you know, and let's get the word out and make sure people don't forget. We won't forget, but we need help from Sacramento. We need help from DC. It's a tough time to get it, but we need help, and you guys are the ones who can help make that happen. Okay? I think that's all I have, unless there are questions later. You guys have a lot of important stuff to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, so much. I'm going to go ahead and invite now, obviously, our health department. We have 2 representatives that are going to speak. And we'll have, let's see, do you want to speak, Christy, first? From the, Christy, you can just tell your title and who you there.
Hi, can you all hear me? Is that close enough? All right. My name is Christy Nishi. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Health at the Health Department. Thank you so much for letting me come here and speak with you today. I want to start a little bit by refreshing your memory about where we were. Then I'll talk about where we are now, and then what from a public health perspective we're looking forward to. When the fire was initially reported, Public Health made some recommendations to the Joint Information Center that was trying to get information out about what to do in the first early stage, and it was primarily surrounding smoke. At that time, we didn't know what was in the smoke. We still probably don't have a good idea of that right now, but it was really focused on smoke and making sure that people could protect themselves against that, because we know that there are particulate matter in any smoke that can be harmful to certain people, and particularly people with certain underlying medical conditions. So that was the initial messaging about staying indoors and using an N95 respirator if you had to go outdoors, and some of those messages that came out early on. I do want to reiterate that smoke can cause symptoms that last a long time. They don't necessarily go away when the smoke goes away. And so it can cause eye and throat irritation and coughing. Particularly some vulnerable populations that I want people to be aware of are young children, older adults, pregnant people, and people with underlying medical conditions. So those folks that are vulnerable because their lungs have been compromised by asthma or from smoking for a long time, COPD, or have heart conditions as well. Finally, we wanted to collaborate with our counterparts in the other counties, recognizing that this is not just a Monterey County issue. It's affecting folks in different areas. So we've been collaborating with our public health partners in San Benito and Santa Cruz County and making sure that we're trying to align our messages so you don't hear one thing in one jurisdiction and another in another jurisdiction. So where we are right now is we're looking at data as it comes in. That's really important for us. Just as you are waiting for data, we're waiting for data as well. To know what that data means in terms of public health, we really have to rely on experts, subject matter experts. And those are individuals from state departments, a variety of different state departments, and some of the national government departments like the EPA. And so as we get that information, then we'll be able to provide updated guidance to you all about what that information means in terms of public health. We're not there yet. We don't have that information yet. But we do understand and appreciate that you'll have questions about the health impacts from the fire and what might have been in the air and what might have deposited in the environment. And so right now, for what we're thinking about moving forward is that we want to try to understand better what people were experiencing and are experiencing. And so we're developing a community survey to gather information in a systematic manner about residents, and we're going to ask questions for people who will hopefully volunteer to take this survey about what symptoms you had, when they started, when they stopped. Did you go see a doctor? What kind of doctor did you see? Did you have to go to the emergency room? Did you get any kind of treatment? So it'll ask questions about that, but also we also want to hear feedback about the health messages you might have received early on in the event, so that we can take that information and say, well, I didn't get any information. Well, that's good information. It was in the wrong language. It was, I didn't understand it. We can use that to help us get better the next time this happens. We hope it doesn't happen again, but the next time an event happens, we want to use that to get better. So that survey's still in development. I wish I could tell you it was ready right now, but we're still working on it. I don't have a timeline for a launch date yet. We're very hopeful that it'll be within the next 2 weeks, hopefully sooner than that, but that's kind of the deadline we're giving ourselves, is 2 weeks. A survey will be in English and Spanish. You'll be able to complete it via web link or QR code. We do recognize that that doesn't work for everybody, so we're working on a telephone option as well. We also recognize that many community members may be reluctant to provide information right now. It's a difficult and challenging time. But I do want to reassure people that we will take this information and we will make it public, but not in a way that people will be able to identify who responded to the survey. We do this with other things that we gather information on. We release information about how many people in Monterey County may have gotten E. coli or whooping cough, and we do that in a way that doesn't identify the people that were affected by it. We'll do that with this survey data as well. So I don't want people to worry about responding to the survey thinking that they will somehow, somebody will be able to know where they live or who they are, what symptoms that they had. We also realize that you all are very efficient disseminators of information. So we want to ask your help when the survey is ready to help us get the information out, to be able to share the link with them and encourage your friends and your neighbors to complete this survey. And lastly, we'll provide you more updates about that survey as we get it developed and it's ready to launch.
Thank you, Christy. My name is Marnie Flagg, and I'm the Assistant Director of Environmental Health for Monterey County. And Christy definitely said a lot of things that overlap with environmental health, and Supervisor Church said a lot of things as well that I'll piggyback on too, that we're learning, environmental health is learning, and that environmental health is just getting started with a lot of things for this particular incident. Listening to everybody, I want to thank you for inviting me here. I've learned a lot personally with this incident, and I've been sitting here trying to think about how to phrase and how to start with all the things and information that I can give to everybody. So for environmental health, it's definitely everything's a moving target for us. Things change hour by hour for environmental health. And I don't know if you've seen, I'm also the PIO for environmental health, and I give news updates, and a lot of things go out for us per hour and news briefs. So I say something on the news, and then in an hour it's something different. And so that's really hard too, to have that go out and then something changes. So, we try to be very transparent with everyone, and I just want everyone to know that we try to give all of our information as soon as we have it. So that just makes it a little bit difficult when things change so rapidly with all of these events. So for environmental health, when an incident like this occurs, our staff get called out. So a representative from environmental health stayed on scene for the fire for the entire time until probably maybe a couple days in that we started to go home a little bit. So they're there. learning and watching and, you know, trying to figure out what the heck is going on at the same time. And it's stressful for everyone. So we called in the US EPA as a resource right away to try to get the air monitoring started. And to make sure that HF was not, because that's what we knew as the immediate concern with these batteries. And because environmental health doesn't have that equipment on site. So we wanted to get that there right away and make sure that that wasn't getting into the air. So environmental health's primary concern, air quality, water contamination, and soil contamination. So those are the three things that environmental health is working on right now. We still are doing air quality monitoring. We have site-specific points that are getting monitored every day, and we have not had anything of note come up in any of the monitoring thus far. And all of those are getting posted on our website. We've had our water quality testing. We selected 5 sites of larger water systems in the area that we have background data on, and we pulled water samples, and we did not find any results on those that differed from their background results. And we have those posted as well. We had the state Department of Toxic Substances come down, and they pulled 8 soil samples and did some screening while they were here too. And we released the screening results. And actually the soil sample results came back as well, but we don't have the interpretations for those yet, so I can't explain those right now. They're in process of being explained to me, so I can't explain those yet. And then right now what environmental health is working on is getting all of these various plume models and air models together so that we can put together a large-scale sampling plan for the entire area. And so that we can put together something so that we can have a definitive answer of where did everything go, what is it, what does it tell us, what does it mean for you, and all of those questions. Because we want to know too. And this is a long-term project. It's a large-scale endeavor. And having partners in the community that did all of this sampling is amazing. And the fact that we can get together and have those the wipe samples, because that's not something that we did, that will be amazing information that we can put together with our information, with our partners, to just merge everything together, and that will be about a wealth of knowledge. So to put you together with our partners, and I just think that that's just going to be a testament to a community rising up and taking ownership of, you know, your knowledge, and just, it's just going to be amazing. I really think so. So putting together that community relationship and moving together, because that's what environmental health is. It's us working with our community. You know, we're partners with you guys. We're out here all the time inspecting and keeping our community safe. And so that's what we're going to keep doing. We're going to have ongoing environmental monitoring and cleanup. You know, our proper battery disposal education is going to come in really handy now. You know, where you put it on top of your bin for every waste management to come clean that, take those away. That's really, I think that's going to be something. But, you know, all of environmental health is taking complaints, and we've always taken complaints from your restaurants, from vectors, from everything, and we take complaints for this too. So send them in, because this is how we monitor what happens in our community, and this is how we keep tabs on everything. So, if you see something, it's the old adage, if you see something, say something. So you tell us what you see and what's happening, and it's the same thing as Christy was saying, with your health too. You tell us what's going on so that we know and we can monitor it and watch out for it and help you. We have our complaint line. Our staff is, you actually speak to a person and they take your complaint for you. And that's how we're going to, move forward in the future, and we're going to work on this together. It's not going to be a short-term process. It's going to take a while, but I'm going to be here this is where I live too, and we're going to be here for a long time to solve the problem.
Well, good evening. My name is Joel Mendoza, and I'm the fire chief with the North County Fire District. So we provide services to the communities, the larger communities of Prunedale, Castroville, Moss Landing, Pajaro, Las Lomas, and Elkhorn. We cover about 125 square miles with 3 stations, and right now we have 30 personnel. I'd like to say, first of all, start out with saying thank you for having me here. It's really important for your fire department to know that these questions are out there, right? And I hope that the information that I present today will help with some of that. I'd also like to say thank you for really providing support. You hope as a fire department leader that something like this never happens in your community, in your department, while you're there, right? Well, you hope it never happens, but, when it does happen and you're in charge, it's rough. It's been a rough, I don't know how many days we've got now, but it's been rough. But again, I'd like to, say thank you for your support. We've really felt it. And we've always had the community support. We always have, but it is especially felt during this event. So, I'd like to start off with reading a summary of what we saw when we first arrived, and I think it'll paint a picture and kind of put us all in a frame of what we had to deal with and what we've been dealing with since then. So, I'll read off my notes here. On Thursday, January 16th. North County Fire was dispatched to a fire at the Moss Landing power plant. The first engine arrived on scene in about 5 minutes and found there was smoke coming from the roof of the 800-foot-long, 75-foot-tall building housing a lithium-ion battery energy storage system known as Moss 300. By the time the first engine arrived, multiple batteries had burnt, and fire was actively propagating from battery rack to battery rack. This process resulted in a large-scale commercial fire that destroyed the majority of the building and its contents. The incident prompted responders to order evacuations and close local and state roadways in order to protect lives and property. So that paints a picture of what we had when we first showed up. Again, it's that call that nobody ever wants. Nobody ever wants another community. Overwhelming, yes. Had we trained for something like this? We actually had. We had trained. That's a question that comes up quite a bit is, did the company provide training? Did they, provide equipment? Did they provide respirators, tools? As was mentioned earlier, Supervisor Church mentioned earlier, there's 2 companies that we deal with here. And we've dealt with them from the beginning of these projects, from knowing nothing about lithium batteries to, being probably more than we want to be educated on at our level, right? We're not scientists. We're people just like you. That one day decide to don a uniform and provide a service. So we do the best that we can with what is given to us. Okay, sorry about that. So, I lost my train of thought here now. It must be that age. Pardon me? It's been a long 3 weeks. Yes. So, I was at the site for exactly 2 weeks, every day, with going home to sleep for a little bit throughout this event. You know, ensuring that that everything was handled as best as we could. You know, working with their cooperators, working with county health, environmental health, working with Department of Emergency Management, the PIO. You know, trying to work as a group to keep this thing together, get as much information out as possible, and for us, you know, really going through a difficult process because we've never really dealt with anything of this nature, this expansive, and I think, you know, there was a lot of learning that we did, and there's a lot of learning that we're going to do. So going back to the preparation for this, dealing with these two companies, you know, I think the companies themselves have been responsive to the fire department's needs. So initially, from knowing nothing about batteries, we've said we need to know about this technology. We need to know what you're putting in here and how it reacts to, you know, any number of you know, incidents, and how we should act and how we should carry forward if we do have an incident. And so, you know, they took us to the Battery 101. You know, this is what a lithium-ion battery does. This is what you're going to see. This is what you should expect. You know, and I will say, I don't know if it's the company or the people developing the technology or, you know, whoever's designing these projects, but, you know, the information that you're given as a first responder is there's protocols and safety systems that are in place, and there's multiple layers, and they're going to work. You know, we hear about battery management systems, we hear about thermal management systems, and then there's procedures that you ensure are working when you respond to something like this. And, you know, as a first responder, you want to believe that everything's going to go according to plan, but we know different, right? And so because of that, we had protocols in place to where we were pretty much knew who to call to get that assistance. Your fire department, like I said, the other thing that I needed to add is that obviously when something bad's going to happen, that's when you're least staffed, right? That's when most of your staff isn't around. And sure enough, we had our staff down in Southern California. and so we had a couple of us here in management that were able to respond to this thing. Thank God I had Chief Jess Cortez that responded right behind me and kind of helped me put all this together. So, you know, we are the ones that arrived first. We assess the situation. We look at, you know, what's happening, and then we try to predict what's going to happen, and we try to stay a step or two ahead of it. And, you know, this is when we involve the health department, environmental health, Department of Emergency Management. We place a call to the supervisor and hope that so we can give him a heads up on what's going on. Law enforcement, every type of law enforcement, you know, highway patrol, in this case, state parks. Every one of those resources that was involved in this was on our checklist, and we made those calls. In addition to that, we have to notify the state and let them know that we have an incident and that it's an incident that it can escalate. There is a lot on our plate. In addition, you know, then if an incident escalates, then we need to make sure that we're stepping in and that we're making the right call. And in this particular case, it escalated, right? And so we luckily made all those calls to have all those responders there. And so, you know, we had a quick conference with environmental health, Department of Emergency Management, our law enforcement partners that were there, and we said, this is getting out of control. We need to put out a message, and there was multiple messages that we put out, you know, including the evacuation. You know, everybody hopes that these processes work flawlessly and that you can get them out as soon as you can. And in real life, you know, you think, man, we're really executing here. And you know, when you hear or you look at a status board of when things happen, you're like, oh man, it seems like we were working in sync, and we were going to get all these things done. And the reality is we get everything done, but there's always room for improvement, right? And this this incident and every other incident that we've had, whether large or small, there's always a debrief that happens, right? And in that debrief, we share with our responders, whether it be just the engine company or whether it be, in this case, environmental health, Department of Emergency Management, all the different departments that I've mentioned. And we talk about what we did and what we learned and how we can make things better. And believe me, we learned a lot in this incident, and hopefully we can make things better based on that information. I'll move on to current conditions. So the last time that we observed any fire was on Saturday the 18th. We then saw a little bit of smoke on Sunday the 19th, and there was reports that other people had seen or heard maybe smoldering or something. There was a lot of batteries that were buried under rubble, right? The building collapsed in itself, and there was a lot of batteries that were burnt, partially burnt, maybe some that aren't even fully consumed, but they're compromised. They've burned, and so you have a lot of steel, you have a lot of concrete, and you have all this stuff that's now sitting pancaked and holding in heat. So that's the bad news. The good news is that over this period of time, a call was made to start taking temperatures on this thing, right, on this rubble pile. And then the other part of the building that didn't burn, right, we're keeping an eye on that also. So we use drones that have a capability to take a reading, a thermal reading, and let us know what the temperature is. And then we've got, in this particular case, after the fire department being there for roughly 2 weeks, Vistra contracted with a private fire department that is there round the clock with an engine company and supervisors, and their role is to keep an eye on the facility, take temperatures, ensure that those drones are flying, and ensure that all that information is communicated to the Vistra management and also us. They have my number. I get reports from them on a daily basis. We attend, we're in it for the long haul, right? So we attend their morning briefings that they have. They're at 7:30 in the morning, and they talk about what the plan is. They're working with environmental health, and I think they meet with environmental health during the day as well. We just happen to have twice. We happen to have the first meeting. And, we discuss what they're doing. We discuss what the potential dangers may be. We put out an alert a few days ago regarding this storm that was coming in. We knew the alert was going to be controversial because we didn't want to stoke fears, but at the same time, in conversations with the County of Monterey, there's still a danger there. There's still a danger that, again, I mentioned batteries under the rubble pile, or batteries that didn't burn in the buildings where they weren't really affected by a direct flame, but maybe there was heat, maybe there was water damage. And so as a first responder, and with the experience that I have with these batteries, is I know that there's a possibility that some of those batteries are unstable. I know that they can catch fire. We can have a small flare-up. We can have a larger flare-up. And there's a possibility that, something can happen, have a chain reaction where we would lose the rest of that building. My hope, and after what I've seen now and reports that I've gotten, is that we're not going to get to that point. But there's no guarantees, right? Nothing's a guarantee. I think that, we'll be ready to respond to an incident. In fact, I know that we're ready to respond. Our partners are ready to respond. They know what the dangers are, and we're ready to do that. So my hope is that we don't have to, right, and that we can continue with future actions. So we continue to work with the company and the fire department that's currently there to ensure that they're working safely, to ensure that they're following advice from environmental health and our state partners. And we intend on staying there and working with those contractors to make sure that they're safe, to make sure the community's safe, and provide any assistance that we can moving forward. And lastly, I'll close with, it's probably over my 10 minutes. I didn't think I was going to speak that long. I'm not really a speaker. You know, as the fire department, we'd like to understand what happened. You know, why was there fire propagating from battery to battery when we arrived? You know, that is the worst feeling when you arrive to a place and you see a situation like that. So we want to understand what is happening, and so we've reached out to our federal partners to assist us with that. Rest assured that there are many investigations that are happening, and you know, the goal is going to be to try and figure out what happened. And you know, it's no different for us. We want to understand what happens. We think we've reached out properly, so that all that information that is gained is you know, they call it raw data, right? And so we don't have the technical expertise to look at that data and identify what it is, but we can reach out. In fact, we have reached out, and we've got a commitment to take that data and review it and ensure that when we have a result and a cause for this, that we all agree on what happened, and then hopefully moving forward, you know, we can make better decisions about, you know, what we're putting in our communities and the safety and protocols that we need to follow for another event. Thank you.
Thank you, all four of you, and obviously our county representatives. So at this time, we want to go ahead and open it up for questions, okay, to any one of our guests here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and I guess I'll leave the podium right here, or I'll make a question right there. This thing is pretty cool. It rolls wherever we want to. So, and Brian, I think you have some questions too, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So please feel free to come up, and we're not at a board meeting. We're not going to give you 3 minutes, but I will keep.
Hello and good evening, community. My name is Alex Rivera, and I'm just a community member here in Castroville representing my people. Have been for a long time. Try to get as much information as I can so I can promote it to my people to secure and make sure that they're okay health-wise and their families are okay, and just to pass on the word just like you guys are. Listening to you guys speak, obviously there's not too much information out there. I know it's unfortunate for you guys not to be able to have that for us. Very small, detailed type of question and answer. I know it's a tough situation. First and foremost, I'm not here to bash on anybody. I know that you guys did a very good job in closing down the freeways and getting it together. Try to be as proactive as possible. So that's kudos to everybody on this panel here. So with that said, do we have any answers on how this plant passed permits and getting information and seeking information of ways to put out fires in case they broke out ahead of time? Is there other types of materials other than water that can be used to put out a fire, such as sand? You know, is there other types of materials that are able to hold that and withstand that type of, like fire retardant, right? They use that in very many ways in airplanes and such. So that's just a question for me, because we had this, a couple years back, about 2 years ago, there was a small case of this. So A, B, what did we learn from that fire? How much more proactive, did we get in regards to that? Was there plans already in place? And is there plans in the future now with this happening? Is there other things that we could do different as a community to combat a situation like that? Okay. Okay, so somebody had mentioned what we had, individual and community-based testing. You said that there was other testing done. I know that in in our community, in every community, there's going to be a lot of questions with working with government. So you guys, we should know that independent, testing and samples from the government is going to be a whole different ballgame. Another thing that could be said, now that the fire is out and the material is actually setting into the soils, have we done anything recently to test and retest some of those soils to see if that's really affected our farmland, right? Because we produce a lot of fruits and vegetables in this area. And this question is for the school district. What have we done? Are we still, and I know that there's a lot of things that are changing within our school district. What are we doing, and do we still have the same protocols in regards to fire shelters or fire protocols or something like that were to happen? In this case, you guys shut down the school when and if it was all available. I don't have any kids in the school, so I don't know if there was like a mass email that went out as soon as it happened. So just trying to get familiar with what happened after that. What steps did you guys take to allow the community to understand that their kids and children were going to be safe? So just to get some of those answers would be helpful. Does the fire department have access to the cameras that are inside the facility? Is that something that's doable, and maybe something in the future you guys can monitor so you guys have a closer eye on it? I know you can't be there 24/7, but being able to have a watchful eye on it at your facility while you guys have a break room or whatever, is that something that's possible so we can react to something a lot sooner if somebody's not there to monitor it? Hey, we have a fire and it's fully engulfed, and can we get to it faster? Right? Like I said, is sand an option? What does sand do? Right? So just a lot of questions that are coming up. I'm just trying to give my ideas and what I feel that could be.
Alex, can I go ahead and, we have a lot of questions. I don't know if I can memorize everything, but I did give a comment card there, so that way we make sure you capture all of them.
Okay.
So let's give them an opportunity to at least speak this and be that.
Okay.
So I can start out. So the question is there a way to put these battery fires out? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So the question was, is there a way to put these batteries out, right? Essentially, that's your question. So there's different types of batteries, different technologies, and I can tell you that there are some that have built-in systems that are designed to, one, catch something very early. They call it a battery management system. So when the battery or the system senses that there's something wrong with the battery, maybe temperatures are elevating or there's something going on, it's supposed to, in theory, and what we're told is that it's supposed to shut down that battery, and then the problem is supposed to go away at that point. So as an example, there is a manufacturer out there that has that system, but that's the only thing that they have. And so if the battery management system fails and it gets past that point, it's going to go into start overheating and then eventually go into a thermal runaway. And the direction that we have as the fire department, because we rely on their engineers to provide us information on, again, this is very technical stuff, how to deal with this situation. And the information for this particular battery is that you let it burn. And I know it's hard to understand that, and like the supervisor said, how is that possible that somebody's making a product out there that says if it catches on fire, the fire department should not attempt to put it out? The easiest way that I can explain this is that in this particular case, this battery that I'm talking about is the size of a big Ford truck, like an F-250, and it's completely sealed all the way around. So when it begins to burn, you have a vent that pops off on the top of this thing. You have igniters that go off so that gases begin to burn, and you don't have an explosion hazard. But you've got fire blowing out of there, and that's just the exit point. There really is no way to take a fire hose, get it in there, and get enough water in there to put it out. It's not going to smother it. As the supervisor said earlier, it's going to slow down the process, and it's going to take longer. You're going to most likely have products of combustion, gases, probably poisons, that are then going to be emitted into the community rather than just having it burn and getting it over and done with. Now, the technology that was in the system that burnt was a little different. It actually had what they call a battery management system, and then it had a thermal management system. So the thermal management system, when it senses that it's overheating, the battery management system is supposed to shut it down. If it doesn't, then there's the other layer, which is the thermal management system. Essentially, if you think about a fire sprinkler, there's a fire sprinkler in each one of the modules, and there's like 22 modules in each one of these racks. So when it senses that it's getting hot, that bulb will break and then introduce water into this module and put it out. When we arrived at the scene, one of the first questions that we asked is everybody okay? And is the systems, are they working, right? Did we have an alarm? And do we have water injection? And the answer was yes. And we could see through cameras. You asked about cameras. They have closed circuit cameras where we could see that there was water being injected. So again, you hope, when you're looking at permitting, for example, for these things, you hope that everything works as designed, but as we can see, it doesn't always work that way. And it's unfortunate.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure we have time for everyone because we only have this facility till 7. So Alex, do me a favor. You have my email with all those other questions, so then we can get back to you on that, okay? Thank you.
I'm Bruce Thomas. I live on a boat in South Harbor. So pretty close proximity to the fire. I woke up this morning and there was a really brisk offshore breeze. Really, 15, 20 straight off. We have what are called wind decks at the top of our mast. Some people call them wind vanes. But it was aiming straight, pretty much, in terms of my exposure to particulate matters. My question to you is, do you have a sarcophagus, or what are you doing right now with this big wind, not like stirring up a bunch of particulate, like with cobalt and all that, and just blasting a full tilt? Is there somebody that can come by my boat and say, we recommend that you sail off and then go to anchor somewhere because you're elderly and we're exposing to this magnitude of dangerous chemicals for your well-being? You should not be here. But there's nobody come by to make that evaluation for me. I'm thinking, maybe you can tell me, what is the in situ right now? If I were to go on this last gentleman, will tag off a hand, if we had cameras where we could monitor what's going on there, how much hazmat protection is being utilized. I don't care any longer about, personally, this is just personally, about poison soil or anything like that. I'm talking about a visceral now that my anxiety is crazy high when I don't know what I'm getting blasted with. I asked earlier, is there LD50 for you two of the elements that are coming off of those batteries? And do you have an MSDS for the things that are coming off of those batteries? How much particulate is in the air? Are you measuring particulates? What different variations of particulates are you measuring? So what does it look like out there right now? It was dry this morning, and I've been a contractor all my life. You put a wind current into something that has particles, and it's going to just lift it up and shove it downwind, and that's me. And I'm really concerned about myself right now, and my kids. I don't want to be checking out. I don't want to be getting a premature disease, any of that sort of thing. So I need to be told, it's best for you, Bruce, to move your boat. Or, Bruce, you have no cobalt coming your way, you're fine.
So what I can tell you is that the air monitoring sites are still up. So
Are you measuring particulate?
Yes, we're measuring particulate matter.
Okay.
And they're measuring it all day, frequently. It hasn't stopped. If there's a spike, they're going to tell us. They're going to notify us.
I need to know now.
Well, they're going to alert us, and we're going to alert you right away.
And what is the LD50 of your products that are coming?
I'll have to look. I don't know off the top of my head.
I've asked you again, but I should probably have formal RFIs where I send it to somebody in particular who can best answer my RFIs, where I have written recommendation so that I'm not just vaguely going, well, maybe I'm okay, maybe I should be somewhere else. So I have a sense of urgency, and I know Liza does too, because
We'll always check on the Monterey Bay air quality index, the air resource management website. They have the air quality, it's always up to date.
Okay.
Our
so
friends at Embark are always up to date.
I should probably get this gentleman to loan me my own detector and put it on the boat. If you can be lent something, so that I can have a actual, real world measurement of what the wind is doing to me. Not so much at the site. I mean, what
They're
have
all
you got
throughout the community.
But what have you guys done to cover all the particulate matter? Is there anything out there that's covered?
Yes. They have taken on site, they have taken risk, they have taken management, they have to do site mitigation. Yes, they have to do site mitigation.
Ask another question.
Okay, so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have your information.
Yeah, it's really.
Well, hi there. My name is David Bloom. I'm an organic farmer. Been that way for a long time here. And I am a scientist. I'm an ecological biologist and biosystematist. So I have more than a little expertise in talking about some of these issues. One of the things we know about, and by the way, I have just ultimate sympathy for the difficulties you guys are facing right now. You know, there's so little that you can do. You can monitor, you can report, but how do we fix this? So when you're looking at heavy metals, they're really dense. They're metals, you know. They don't blow a long distance. They blow, they fall out of the air closer and closer to where you are and less in the distance. So when you have heavy metals like that, when it rains, which I think it's doing today, and the rain is more than an inch or two, that water will carry 4 feet into the soil, and if it keeps raining, it goes all the way to the aquifer. So over the winter, a lot of those heavy metals, because they're dense and heavy, and when they get in solution, they drop. We're going to have to start measuring the water quality of our aquifers. Now, when it comes to why are we being asked to take the risks in this community for this kind of installation? Well, it gets into, because I'm an energy expert, I can tell you that in the industry, the dirty little secret is no one expects to find another big oil deposit ever. We've found them all. We're good at that. We're looking at maybe 15 years worth of affordable gasoline. And after that, the remaining oil is going to be used for much more expensive things. So what are we going to do? The solution has been mandated to go for electric cars. Congress has allocated $400 billion for this.
Sorry to interrupt you. We need Q&A from the community.
Well,
you can give this to us and we can put it up at the site where other people can see it and hear it, and you can be heard.
All right.
But there's a lot of Q&A that is here.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I understand you guys' time is valuable, so I'm not going to necessarily expect you to answer any of my questions. My name is Liza. I'm a live aboard in Moss Landing as well. I also have a history working for marine research as a deckhand on research vessels, and I've also been commercial fishing this bay for 8 years and serve as a coastal tour guide via horseback in Moss Landing. One of the things I do want to echo that Bruce said is, and don't take this personally, but I want you guys to have a bigger picture because I really stand for Take Back California. I have really very real concerns about why an MSDS sheet wasn't available to the fire department, to our county representatives, to Jimmy Panetta, who accepted money from Vistra while they installed this facility and allowed that permitting. An MSDS is a material safety data sheet that specifically says, and I know because I work in marine, I've been working with the marine environment for 15 years. And whenever you work with a chemical, you get a report that says, this is what that chemical is, these are the risks that you're taking, these are ways to handle it if you have a physical or debilitating larger emergency, this is how to put out a fire if you're dealing with this chemical. And as a handler, especially in the state of California, anything that's shipped into California, and by the way, some things are not allowed to be shipped into California, only qualified personnel will be able to discern what that MSDS sheet means in order to be able to use those batteries. So there's some gross negligence here in that permitting, especially since it is on an estuary, in a marine sanctuary, in a protected area. This should have never happened. I don't think there is a safe way to address the situation. Every incident that has occurred has to do with, the sprinkling system failed or water came in the ventilation. This is not our first fire, guys. This is our fourth fire. And they've all had to do with the infiltration of moisture. We live in a marine layer, not just a marine layer of moisture, but salt water specifically, which is highly conductive in batteries. This is not, new. This is elementary physics. This is what we learned in elementary school. This is no excuse as to why we don't have a plan to deal with this. The additional long-term impacts cannot be measured. Not today, not tomorrow, not months from now. I'm carrying a 5-month-old baby. What about 6 years from now? What about 10 years from now? We can't say, everything is safe now, like our organic farmer said. I was here when the smokestacks were operational while it was a gas-powered plant, and we could see the rust particulate landing on all of the boats. And they offered the boat owners opportunities to compensate for cleaning those boats. But the reality was you could go to the boats any day when those smokestacks were operational and see physically rust particulate all over the place. And that's what we can see. Now we're talking about that is visible to all of us boat owners, but what about what we can't see? And at the same time, we're going to be held accountable if we clean our boats improperly, but they're not going to be held accountable for the amount of particulate and heavy metals that have poisoned our soil, potentially poisoned our fisheries 2 years from now, 5 years from now. We don't know. That's very horrendous. I want to ask California and Monterey County as a leader, and because we have agriculture and because we are a fishing mecca, to say, yes, we are going to protect our coasts. We are going to protect our coasts by 2030. And how we're going to do that is we're not going to say yes to this so-called green energy. I know I don't have a lot of time here, but I do want to point out that as of 2020, Vistra was ranked the highest CO2 emitter in the United States. Okay, guys? This is not green energy. This is not saving our environment. This is not reducing carbon emissions. This is shaking hands between politicians and giant organizations saying that we have a futuristic energy that we don't know how to contain, we don't know how to control, we don't know how to store safely, and we want to put wind farms up and down the coast and a Moss Landing Vistra power plant storing batteries in Morro Bay, in San Jose, in Watsonville. We need to set an example here. We need to set an example here that we, as a community, as a critical hub, as an environmental and scientific hub, are going to say, no, this doesn't work, it's not safe, we don't know what the long-term impacts are, and we can't permit this to move forward.
I just wanted to thank you guys for how much you care about what's going on here. My question is small. I worry that Vista is not doing everything they're supposed to. And you mentioned they have their own fire people. Are you guys going on site and checking what they're doing? Are any of you having feet on the ground inside the fence and watching and seeing what they're doing? Because I don't trust them. Flat out, I don't trust them. I think that they're a large company that is doing some hinky things. So are you guys able to get in there and do anything?
I can answer that. So I mentioned earlier that we're there. So I can answer that we're there every day. We show up for the briefing and talk about what the work plan is for the day. We address any concerns that may have with any work that they're doing and safety. Environmental health has the same, and I don't want to speak for them, but they have the same meeting. So they want over. Yes, absolutely. We have. No, we have absolute access to all of the plant. Of course, we're not going inside of the burnt building, but all around the perimeter. Yeah, rest assured that environmental health and our department is there. The department that actually provides those services is a private fire department that they brought in. So not affiliated with Vistra at all. They're getting paid for being there. For providing service there.
But who pays them? Vistra pavement. See, that's where my concern is. But thank you very much for answering my question. I'm glad that we have boots on the ground that's not just their people.
Hello, my name is Eric Davidson. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. And in my, I work with the local industries here producing food, etc. So they have regulations and a lot of things that were brought around in the last 20 years concerning food production in our area is to regulate the industry, so the industry is not regulating themselves. And my question, I just my own personal understanding, it seems like once you've permitted this company to come into our area, they're pretty much in control of their own regulations, because you've got two companies, as I understand. One took the approach of mitigating risk by separating their batteries and containers by distance and arbitrarily coming up with that value. And then another one chose to put all their batteries in one building and try to control it through automating the thermal control, stuff like that. But once thermal runaway happens, there's no controls after that. My question is are they dictating the regulations, or is this something that pre-existed that they're supposed to conform to, or are we just learning this as it happens?
Sure, I'll try to answer as best as I can. I don't know everything that went on in 2019 and 20. I wasn't in office at that time to see. But want to clarify a little bit that Vistra has batteries in buildings, and still one building, but they also have them outside. Is that the industry apparently has decided somewhere in the last few years that it's better not to stack them up. It's better to put them outside, because if one burns, you're only supposedly getting one to burn that way, and eliminates this kind of a problem that we have here. When the permit process comes on down, the county itself, it isn't looking at the batteries. We don't have that technology to say this is like your battery. We do look at things like you look for has it gone to United Laboratories approval, like UL approval, which most things will do. So those things are looked at. But what does happen is that the county looks, of course, you do basic electrical, your basic building, like a bit, any building or that we're getting constructed. But what happens in CEQA review, it's the Environmental Quality Act, is from the county level, that goes up to the state, and we look then for input from the state, because we're not we're not all the experts down here, just like on the testing from the health department. You have to bring in the EPA. They have that equipment. We're not expecting to see HF everywhere around. And we're and it's just like the testing that's being done now. It's done by the State Department of Toxic Substances Control, and they're the ones that are putting the data back, and we're kind of having to follow behind onto them. But like with the CEQA, it goes up to the state, and you wait for them, who are supposed to have experts onto this, to respond. In this particular case, what I understand is there were only 2 CEQA responses that came in. One was from Caltrans, which was wanting to know if the construction going to go on was going to disrupt the highway. Well, that wasn't disrupt the highways, the fires, obviously, we've seen. But the other one was from the State Fish and Wildlife, and they were concerned about something with some raptors, and I don't know the particulars on that. We didn't get anything from the CPUC. We didn't get anything from the California Energy Commission. Didn't get anything from any environmental watchdogs in the state onto there. So you put it out there, and you wait for people who are supposed to know on these things that has gone through the state level to report back, and that's where we're at looking at that point.
I understand what you're saying. My question is from your comments earlier when you said that once the permit process is done and they've begun construction, does the further regulation fall to the company to because they're the experts. They're the ones. I mean, they presented the fire department with what their response was expected to be, and such. And it seems like self-regulating industries usually don't fare very well.
And I think that's to a great degree where we're at a lot with this, because it's a relatively new industry, so it is doing a lot of self-regulation. It's presenting information to the state, to the federal government, or whoever it is, other states, and saying this is what we've done. But the regulation that's going to come about from the state at that point is the California Public Utilities Commission. They're supposed to be looking over safety issues. And so that's where.
So we're waiting for that commission to react to this situation.
Well, there's an investigation.
Okay,
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. We only have 5 more minutes, so I really want to limit to one question and leave it to 2 minutes.
So guys, just real quick, I've heard a lot of great stuff here tonight. I have a whole bunch of questions. I'm not going to ask them. I'll get them to you separately. Please start pushing this. You talked about all the stuff you're doing. The community doesn't know that. You need to start writing it down, sending it out. Social media is an immediate way to communicate. I think a lot of these sites are somewhat static. People have to go there to get information. We need you to start pushing to us. There are resources. You can reach out to us. We'll get this out. We have 5,000 people who are tracking daily on what's going on, and they're hearing crickets just because you're trying. It's just that it's not getting through. So help us. The main thing is, as a suggestion, the medical community needs to hear from our authorities. They don't know what to do. I have dozens of reports of people going to doctors, to hospitals, and to labs and being told we don't know what to do. They're asking, what kind of test should I get done? They're saying, well, I don't know. I haven't heard. We need you in doing this. And I would recommend the easiest way is push it. Get it to us. Not just our group, but these online. Use the social media. You're the authorities. We're not hearing from you. We need your help. These questions I'll get to you guys rather than take up the time. They're more yes, no questions, not really long, drawn out, but there's a couple of people who want to ask questions. Okay, let's talk afterwards, please.
Good evening. My name is Ramon Gomez, and first and foremost, I want to acknowledge and thank LULAC, North County LULAC, for organizing this meeting and give us an opportunity to ask questions. I also want to acknowledge North County Fire Chief Joe Mendoza and the fire department for their amazing response. We're very lucky that nobody got hurt. We're very lucky that no firefighter got injured. We're lucky no employee got injured and no community member got injured. And then nobody died. The long-term implications of what the health issues are still outstanding. There's a lot of questions that are still out there, and I know that under the current regulatory system, what we have there, where we had this big fire of Moss 300, it would not be allowed. The fire codes have been updated at the state level and at the national level, and this kind of development would not be allowed. So I have two questions. One of them is, what are we going to do with these legacy systems that are out there that do not comply with current state fire code regulations? And my second question is, it relates to when do we anticipate, if any of you know, when do we anticipate having the results from these independent investigations? I know the CPU is doing one. I know there's at least 2 or 3, and the governor asked for another one, so there might be 2 or 3 investigations that are out there. They're going to help us determine whether or not we should move forward with this technology and how these things should be designed in the future, I think. Thank you.
I can try. Again, be respectful of people's time. I can tell you that as far as regulation for the fire code, when you develop something, it's been my experience that you follow the code that was present at the time, and that's what you fall under. So the code will keep evolving, and FPA will provide new recommendations. However, that project is subject to the laws that were in effect when it was built. And, unfortunately, it's not proactive, I guess. It is what it is at the time, yeah.
In terms of the investigations, I have no idea. It's the state. They're going to move at their own speed, and my guess is it's going to be slow. But that's why I've been trying to call for, and I know Assemblymember Addis too is just saying, hey, pause this industry, pause this till we get this investigation figured out, till we understand what happened here, until maybe we can find a way to. Maybe we don't want to use lithium batteries to this. There's other types of storage system. There's sodium ion. There's over in Kern County they're putting in a compressed air facility to store. So there's alternatives, and we just need to stop this whole thing.
That's not next to agriculture land as well. So what happens to all the produce and all the agriculture that's being sold right now You know, and the results find out later. And is there going to be some type of program, payback program for all the people who are going to take a loss on that soil?
Let me go ahead and get these two.
Hola, buenas noches. Yo mi pregunta la voy a hacer en español. Mi nombre es Adriana Molina, yo soy miembro de la comunidad. He estado trabajando en la comunidad por algunos 10 años, especialmente con la comunidad hispana. Entonces, mi preocupación ahorita son muchas, pero unas ya las contestaron. Agradezco mucho el trabajo que se está haciendo, agradezco mucho sus atenciones, pero sí tengo varias preocupaciones, pero me voy a enfocar en una por el tiempo. Tenemos en cuenta que tenemos muchas preocupaciones en el aire y todo, pero yo estoy preocupada también por el agua que recibimos en casa. Sabemos que las personas que tienen agua potable y reciben un bill del agua o reciben el bill en su bill de la luz, ahí pueden ver las regulaciones, qué tan buena está su agua, qué tan dañada está su agua en casa. Hay un bill que dice eso, pero hay personas como yo que vivo en Plundel y tengo pozo. El pozo de agua, no hay una regulación ahí. Sabemos que la comunidad tenemos la obligación de estar detectando esa agua, pero hay unos medidores que no son suficientes para todos los metales que está cayendo a la tierra y que la misma agua que viene del mar o de donde venga nos lleva esa agua a estos pozos de agua. Entonces quiero saber de qué manera podemos protegernos en lo que encontramos una solución a todo esto.
Adrian, where are you going to go ahead? So I'm going to have to end it with Adrian as the last. Yes, por favor, translate it. Porque there's another meeting coming in, so I have to be out of here at 7:15. So this is the last question. Anybody else, please? We have public comment. Write it down, and we'll get the information to you.
Okay, the question is about groundwater. So many people in our community have wells, and how do we measure that the smoke went up and then heavy metals may go into the ground and then to water and rain off? It's going to go down to the soil, and how do we measure this water? For a lot of our community uses these wells. So what do we do about that?
I know it's really an environmental health issue right here to handle, but I live in a small water system. I used to manage one, and they're tested very regularly for a lot of these heavy metals. So as we go through our tests, and maybe it'll be important to go through and step up that testing. So that will be, it's something that's going to be kept an eye on as we go through. Actually, it's not going to be just months. It's going to be the next year or two or whatever till we see what happens. But I'll let Marnie handle that.
One thing that we're really lucky is that we have a lot of data from history, past history and past testing. So a lot of the larger water systems like Supervisor Church lives on, they test their groundwater every 3 years for a long list of testing. And so we'll have those, and they keep going, and they'll keep testing it, so we'll be able to keep an eye on it. And it'll trigger a warning if we see something rise up slowly. We'll see it, and we'll be able to tell everybody about it. And there's large systems all over the area, and so we'll see it when it happens all over the area. And it's not
a small system. I own my own well.
Well, they're all around you, and it's all one big straw. It's a big aquifer, and every straw is in the same aquifer. So if you have your own well, it's right next to a well that's serving a lot of other large houses. It's all one aquifer underneath.
Yeah, but it's not close to any of those.
No, it's all one aquifer underneath.
Okay.
I can, if you want to come in, I can show you maps and everything.
It's okay.
And the last question will be, what are we doing with a community that may have some health issues on the future due to the exposure of the smoke? Is the county providing extra health services, or what are we doing, or what are we planning to help these people that may develop any symptoms because of?
So, unfortunately, I think that's a difficult question, and I don't have an answer for you right now. I appreciate you asking the question. It's something we need to think about. In the short term, as you know, I know that some folks had mentioned that they've gone to see their medical provider. See your medical provider. See your medical provider regularly, so that if something does come up, then you have a medical resource to be able to guide you on what the next steps are.
Okay. I really...
I just wanted to say that I know that Santa Cruz County, their health department, is asking their doctors. No, this is a comment. This is not a question. I'm providing information.
Hold on. So if anybody has any further information, I have public comment cards. So por favor, fill them out because we're going to ask. I have all of their contacts, and we're going to email you the response. Okay? I want to reassure you that you will get the information. Por favor, si tienen preguntas, escríbanos y vamos a hacer las preguntas y los vamos a mandar por correo por teléfono. I really want to thank everybody for coming here. This is community grassroots organizing, a community that's passionate about the betterment of our community, and I want to thank everybody for being here, and our guest speakers, thank you for your time and effort. I appreciate it.
Gentleman who had a question about
Okay. You're going to change your battery? All right. I want to talk to this biologist here real quick. Hang on. He's got to change his battery, and then I do want to talk to you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what? Here, come over here. So. We're not still live? 1 second.
We need to interview her about those photos.
No, I agree, but I want to talk to this guy real quick. Are we still live or we're okay? All right. So they were just finishing up our town hall here in Castroville. I wanted to talk to you because not only are you an organic farmer, you're a biologist, and I think the thing that's not being addressed in the room right now is the heavy metals leaching into the soil. And this isn't just a story here locally. This is a story for the whole country because vegetables that are grown here in the Salinas Valley work their way through the entire country. This is, the quote-unquote salad bowl of America. So you're an organic farmer. Tell me what your concerns are.
Well, I think what we're going to find is there'll be a lot of sweeping under the rug because if they test for heavy metals throughout this salad bowl of America, and they start testing how much of that comes up into the lettuce, are they going to turn in all the lettuce? Are they going to cut all the lettuce and take it to be incinerated or whatever? No, they're not going to do that. So what's going to happen is people will filter those heavy metals out of the lettuce into their body. And that's what happens with the heavy metals. There was a region of in India where there was coal-burning utility, was sulfuric acid was dropping. There was arsenic in the soil, and it dissolved it. It ended up in the water, and in 6 or 7 years, massive numbers of people were dying. So heavy metals are insidious, and these particular ones are insane. Now, we kept hearing these people say, oh, HF, that's hydrofluoric acid. That acid can eat this window. I mean, normal acid you can put in a beaker, right? No, hydrofluoric acid is insanely corrosive. Hydrochloric acid, which is the other gas that was being emitted during this, if you breathe that in, it'll scar your lungs. Hydrochloric acid is quite powerful. What?
It sounds like it's very dangerous. So the EPA tested for that, but I'm still not clear from this conversation tonight whether anything else was tested. I heard testing was done, but to what extent is my question. Do you know?
I don't know what they did for testing, but I would imagine it's the usual thing is they go out in rings from the site itself and take swabs of the soil. But now that it's rained, there won't be anything to test. It'll wash into the soil and eventually get down to the aquifer, and then we'll see it there. And that might only take 5, 6, 7 years.
So what do we do now, in your opinion?
Well, we don't build this thing again. You know, why do we have this thing? It's because a commitment's been made to go to electric cars. And $400 billion, that's still a large amount of money, has been allocated for the whole electric car thing. So the reason why electric cars and not some alternative is because the people that make the electricity are pretty similar to the people who control the oil wells.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're not wrong.
No. In fact, the facility here used to use diesel fuel for years and years, and then they switched to natural gas, and hundreds of thousands of gallons of diesel fuel in tanks ignited one day, right? Oh. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is these kinds of projects where industry requires the federal government to protect them against any lawsuits, it should be illegal, but it isn't. And industries that the government wants to see proliferate, they'll agree to do these things if those corporations ask for it, and they have. So why do we have battery packs? Because at night, nuclear power plants can't throttle down. They're too fragile. They would blow up if you start going up and down. So at night, they can't sell their power because it's the most expensive. But if you have nighttime battery packs, now there's a market for all that really dirty energy. So by storing energy at night to run cars the next day, in other words, people charge their cars from this battery pack to their car, what you're doing is making a market for really dirty energy.
They're trying to close down the meeting because another one's coming in here. Quickly, I want to ask you one other question. So you're not the only organic farmer that was in the room tonight. There were a few others, and it seemed to me you all had the same concerns about what happened next. I know organic farming is a little bit different than commercial farming. You have certain protocols you have to follow to be labeled organic, and that is a big part of the business here. What are your concerns on that?
Well, it's an ethical concern. If you're an organic farmer and your soil is contaminated by heavy metals, do you declare bankruptcy and walk away because you're going to be poisoning your customers? Or do you don't have it tested and hope nobody notices and it goes out and people eat it and then that gets rid of it? So it is incredibly sticky, horrible, ethical consideration for people who are organic farming, and we tend to be ethical people. That's why we're organic farming.
Right. Okay, so we are literally getting kicked out of this meeting right now. Thanks for tuning in tonight. You want to try to do some interviews outside? Okay, let's see if we can do some interviews outside then. I mean, all right, come follow me. Let's see what we can. Okay. Oh. Jordan, can you? All right, guys, it's raining out there.
People don't melt.
People don't melt?
Don't melt. just
cameras do, right? Just
we witches. You need me for anything?
Yeah. Do you want to? Okay, so
go outside. I know they have to go.
Where can we go? Yeah. Is there a cover?
Right there. And I just want to hold on.
We're gonna
go outside.
Yeah.
I wish they just announced.
Oh, there's some covering here. Okay.
Yeah, it's covered. I figured it's fine.
John, there's some covering here. We can not get wet.
You got a little background here. I don't
yes.
know. But I figured if both of us talked a little bit about it than I am.
No, I think you're both have different takes on it. You are an electric engineer.
Mechanical engineer.
Mechanical engineer, and then.
Right now, I used to be a receptionist.
Oh, right on. Okay,
so I don't have any special things to.
But she has lived in this area her entire life, and she's a vested interest.
My dad has a boat there. I've sailed on the bay.
Okay.
So when Liza was talking, it really hit home.
And when she was talking, like she said, when she was talking earlier about what PG&E used to deal with mitigating their pollution in the bay, and this is, just a continuation of that from it. Yeah.
My dad's boat, we had to scrub all the time because of this.
And this feels like it's probably worse than that, correct?
Well, we didn't have the breathing issues and all the other.
The other concern is that at least PG&E seemed to be working under a regulatory structure that was well known. This seems to be a situation where it's an unknown technology, and the people that are developing the technology are the ones that are getting to express what they feel the risks are and how they should be dealt with. And I don't know the extent to which testing is done for these type of situations where thermal runaway takes all your best laid plans and lays waste to them, essentially.
Right.
So that's my question was to the people that were here, is that it sounded like that once the permitting process was allowed, once you've allowed them to set up shop, it's up to them to be good neighbors and good company and do. And I know from my experience, I work we build equipment for food processing, before the implementation of the Food Safety Modernization Act, all the producers were basically held, do good, don't poison us all, and of course you know how that went, and I think that this is another situation, it's another watershed moment where you've got a company that was allowed to build the best thing they thought they were doing, but it was more optimistic in its risk assessment than reality. They, just my observation of the two companies and the two approaches, excuse me. Lithium fires and their dangers are well known. They have been for 15, 20 years. The fact that we took a situation that seemed to be handled by mitigating it by keeping smaller portions farther apart and just completely sidestepping that and trying to put as much as we could into one building. I'm just wondering who gets to write the regulations going forward. Is it still Vista and the energy industry, or is it going to be regulated from California?
And this was a valid question, and I don't think it was quite getting answered. What I heard, and you can tell me if you heard something different, but what I felt like I was hearing is they were talking about building code structures, about when they first built the building, which doesn't have anything to do with safety regulations as far as industry is concerned. Those are two different conversations, right?
I spoke to the fire chief a moment ago just to get some more clarity. He was talking about the remaining powered bank batteries there right now. Each year they've layered on what they've learned in the prior year, and that's great, but at the same time that's reactionary, and that's not taking into the possible risks that were set up. And I don't particularly feel very comfortable with the idea that once you set up shop you get to regulate your own situation. So
or just live by the rules you had before.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I put it in here, I don't have to.
Yeah.
No, but that's why I'm saying the building code, which is true, the building code. So if you build a building in 1923, 1955, the building code structure at that time is what's applied, but that's not the same thing as safety regulation for an industry, and they can regulate industry. So I don't know if there was a disconnect in between.
Well, just like you're talking about right now. I mean, this building we're standing in front of was built in the 1920s, right. But the amount of people that are allowed into it tonight to attend a meeting are dictated by current fire codes.
Right.
So,
exactly.
So that's
yes, exactly.
So that's what my question was. Is that I don't want to take this hopeless approach that we've already let the rooster. I've already let the fox in the hen house, and there's nothing we can do. I just wanted to know, is this something that is there somebody else in the driver's seat besides Vista and the energy at large?
No, I can't convince you. Are you a farmer?
Yeah, I've been a farmer.
Come on in. We're done.
We don't bite.
Yeah, because you asked some good questions and things we're worried about.
I don't have answers.
No,
I'm actually your concerns I feel like are not being addressed right now. How are you feeling after this meeting? I understand that they tested for certain things in the air, but ground soil and how that affects farming for the next 5 years is an entirely different conversation, and I don't hear any answers on that.
What if everything gets declared like non-sellable, non-consumable? This entire area, we're an ag capital of the world, the artichoke capital of the world. That's just a small fraction. It goes out to Driscoll's and
you know? So what type, it's an obvious, it's a no-brainer, you know? So what happens, what kind of programs are you going to offer all these farmers of compensation if they can't sell their crops? You know, how you're going to restore their soil, you know? Do you even know how to restore the soil and pull all these toxins out of it? Like, you know, there's definitely a lot of common sense, you know,
right now, like he
actions
says,
that need to be taken.
I would say I work with equipment that processes produce, and we have to build it to a standard because you can't have a kill step on something that's fresh cut, ready to eat. You know, so you have to get it out of the field as best you can. So when you do testing in the field and you find E. coli or salmonella or something like that, that's something that can be addressed and mitigated at the field. But heavy metals in your soil, that's a completely different situation. Like you said, is there anything in place to address that?
They got a good hemp program that like they're introducing to Panama, Colombia, and all these. It's been known before our time, but it's like, you know, those are obviously, are they going into? They have to have some type of. You can't just take the soil out and replace it. You know how much money, like you know how much that is. So like, you know, hemp, it takes like a year, 2 years to revive the soil. That's a long time for farmers. Okay, so we have to set up a program for them. Oh, it costs what, $2,000, $3,000 a year or something for the permits to grow hemp. All right, waive that fee. They
So
should
for
be
the
allowed.
for the non-farmers in the world, are you using hemp to put it into the soil to refresh it? Does that pull out the heavy metals, make it more?
All toxins. It completely restores soil. You know, it's been known.
2 years to do that.
It takes quite some time, depending on how severe the toxins are in there. But hemp is widely used, you know, for plenty of building materials.
we don't
You
know
wouldn't want
that.
to use it for consumption, you know. Obviously, if it's
Some people might.
well, if you're. Well, yeah, you know, lithium infused, you know, cobalt infused hemp, but it can be used for building materials, you know.
So maybe they should set up some sort of program now, knowing that there's going to be an issue, because I don't see.
The knowledge is out there. It's been there before these battery, the lithium battery plants and this green energy was discovered. The hemp was also, you know, it's been. I mean, that's just one step, you know. Example.
It seems to me that there's no way that there's not going to be a problem here, so they should maybe look forward to trying to put a program into place. So what are next moves for you guys? Are the farmers going to get together and try to talk to these guys and get make some push to get something changed?
Well, yeah, it's kind of everybody's livelihood around here. We're an dense ag area, you know. That's one of our main incomes here.
It's probably the main income.
The main, you know, one of them.
It's not just you guys. Everybody needs the food, right? Without you guys growing the food here, it's a problem for everybody. So this is not
Somebody's
isolated.
gonna be consuming it or not consuming it. So, yeah, not only livelihood and money, but health concerns. You know, they haven't put a stop to the agricultural. They're still telling people it's fine to sell, consume.
Have you had any symptoms of not feeling well?
Yeah, headaches, burning throat. I took off. I left the country 3 days into the fire, you know, got the family out of here. I'm not going to sit around and wait for someone who clearly got paid to get this place installed in a dense agricultural zone and sanctuary of endangered species that like only our area houses, and they're going to put, I don't know. You know how politics works.
No, I do. It's all corrupt.
You know, so
it's all corrupt.
Yeah, their pockets are way beyond mine. You know, I just only concerned with the obvious. You know, like having that luxury to grow our own food and provide for our family, eat organically, and not all this synthetic crap that they're constantly pushing out there. Anyways, it just seems like it's all a part of the agenda to me. So, and just thanks for stripping that little bit of, you know, natural organic way of living. You know, it's like, all right, cool, like now either
we were just
move
there
elsewhere because they can discontinue, like, or stick around till it happens again.
Right, we were there only maybe for 2 hours this morning, and I could feel burning in my throat, and so I could imagine.
I had to take today off from work because of it. Yeah, my dad's been to the hospital twice. I've been there twice. All of our livestock.
Castroville area or Salinas?
Oh, right by Moss Landing.
Oh, right by
7 miles away. Yeah, I raise meat rabbits and chickens, and I'm like contemplating. I'm not going to eat them at all. I don't even feel comfortable eating my chicken eggs anymore because I mean the stuff that I'm breathing and then I'm getting a sore throat, itchy eyes from.
Set seed crop months in advance, order chicken. Now, like, I don't want the animals eating that. Like,
Oh, right, because it works its way through.
works its way through. So it's like we're already being, impacted by it. Now I got to find other places to store these chickens I ordered months ago. Like, I can't house them on there. Like, that's just.
It feels dishonest.
Like, no, you just can't. Like, how am I gonna like harvest an egg from something that was consuming that and crack it for my 5 and 2-year-old daughter? Like, it's not. I care about myself too, but it's not just me. I'm thinking about.
This is definitely a tragedy. Any parting thoughts?
I hope these people go bankrupt.
Hopefully they just get it out of here and put it somewhere where it won't make this much of an impact on anybody.
If water can't put it out, maybe put it
somewhere else.
Yeah. Or if water can't put it out, maybe not put it close to a sanctuary, or maybe put it 2 stories down where a bunch of sand can be put on it and stifle it down. Yeah. There's other stuff there's other things they can do.
The fire department and the hurdles they make us go through just to start a simple little business here, and like they didn't make them go through those same hurdles of like such a major possible disaster, because we have to do that for tiny sprinkler systems up to code in an area that wouldn't even be affected by someone. Say if our house burnt on fire, which is wood and normal carcinogens that we can all take, but they just passed it with flying colors. I'm sure a couple people got new cars and yeah, it's terrible. But that's how it goes, fortunately.
Here's your free Tesla.
Yeah, I don't want it.
Yeah, exactly.
No electric anything.
Yeah. So that does seem like a problem. Why would they put something that reacts to water, which is what lithium does? Why would they put a storage facility with 100,000 batteries in it next to not only water, but an area that has a marine layer that comes in on the daily? Like the potential for moisture entering that environment is very high. That seems like a no-brainer to me. You're right. How does this even happen?
They think it's a nice idea. It sounds good.
Money, they got. It's politics, you got to grease the right pockets, and it's probably a guy who's got vacation homes all over the world, so something goes on here, he can just get up and move, and it is what it is.
All right.
It is what it is. Yeah.
So we're going to end the live stream now, I think. Thank you guys for talking to me. Obviously, these guys here, not only locals, they're farmers. This is their livelihood, their families that live here, grew up here, I'm guessing, as well. So you have roots in the community. So we just, we were at the town hall. I don't feel like a lot of folks felt like they were getting satisfactory answers from any of the politicians that were here. It remains to be seen whether...
absolutely nothing that came out of this meeting.
Yeah, okay,
to be honest, no one got any answers. No one got any answers. They didn't have any answers or information to give, just...
All right, so we're going to be keeping, obviously an eye on this. Thank you for talking with us. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, come over here and just close out.
Close out? All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to close out in front of you, Matt. Thanks, guys. Appreciate talking to you. So my thoughts on this are what I just said. I don't think people were getting satisfactory answers from any of the politicians. I think a big disconnect was happening when discussing why these guys weren't being regulated. They were referring to things like the building code. Well, the building was built then, and the regulations apply to that. That has nothing to do with regulating an industry or having safety regulations updated or adhered to whatsoever. It seems like that was a problem. I have questions for the PIO of the environmental protection or environmental health. It's unclear to me what they were testing for, even though the EPA we knew came in and did the fluoride testing, but we're not sure what other testing was transpiring there. She mentioned it, but she didn't say what they were testing for. They did mention they're going to be doing the groundwater for heavy metals every 3 years. Doesn't seem appropriate. I think that might be what they've been doing in the past. They're probably going to step that up and start doing that every few months, I would like to think. Again, these are things we're going to have to follow up with after the meeting. So I will be talking with some other individuals tomorrow. We'll be doing some interviews, so please make sure you tune into that. Also, please become a Status Coup member if you can. It's your $5 a month is what pays for us to do these trips and to cover these stories. They're not always inexpensive to do. We have to pay for hotel rooms, airfare, and all of these sorts of things. So if you can afford to support us and become a member, we would appreciate that. And thanks for watching the show tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow.